Hello, everyone. This is another story from me, Bertie Koerten. It's one of my experiences I had overseas in France. One Monday morning, about the first week in April 1945, these three trailer trucks pulled up in front of us, and they took 10 men from each platoon, that's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd platoon, and they segregated them into the trailer trucks. It had a canvas on it, half pulled back because it was a misty day on the cool side. Well, we took off. We're going on a special detail, they said. They didn't say where we were going. We had our grease guns with us, but no ammunition. So we took off and drove all day long, and we ended up along a riverside somewhere in Belgium or Luxembourg. I can't remember exactly where it was. We spent the night there sleeping. Some of the guys slept in the truck. Some of them slept on the ground or underneath the trailer trucks. And that's where we spent our first night, which was a Monday night. The next morning we left after a delicious dinner of K rations. And we got as far as Aachen, Germany. That is the first city in Germany that the Allies took, and then the Germans retook it. Now, the city itself was just demolished. They had debris on both sides of the road. It was a zigzag route all the way through the city. And the worst part of that was the smell, because there was bodies encased in the demolition and dead cows and horses laying in the field. They with their legs out. They were all bloated up. And we couldn't get out of there fast enough. But we did anyway. We came by on a 2-lane road directly towards Cologne, Germany. In the meantime, going through, there was this small little town called Koerten, and that was demolished. From one end of the town to the other, you could look straight across. There wasn't a building standing. And come to find out later, I got information about it, that there was a fighter base that the Germans were using during the war, and then the Allies came and they took it over and they used it for our own fighter base. Well, that evening we got into Cologne, and that was the end of our Germany, because we came right to the Rhine River, and that bridge that you see in all the photos all over in the newsreels with the collapsed bridge, we came right upon that, and that was it. We turned right and went into what was either the University of Cologne or the Library of Cologne. Half of the building was standing, and we utilized that, and we remained there for that all night long. And we could hear the guns across the river. The Germans were firing, but we spent that night there, and I've never seen anything so dark. We put your hand in front of your face, and you can't see nothing. There was no stars out or anything. Once in a while, you see the flashes of the cannon fire across the river. But we spent that night there on the ground. We weren't supposed to be there. It was a mistake. They took a wrong road. We were supposed to be up in Belgium at the PW camp. So the next day we took off in the morning, and during that trip there had been a extensive air raid somewhere in Germany. And we looked up and saw the planes returning to England, that it was nothing but planes. It was just black. The sky was black. There were so many bombers. And these P-38s were swooping down at us to find out what we were doing there. And that was a little scary, I'll tell you. But anyway, that passed. We ended up in Namur, Belgium, the name of the town, is where this huge PW camp was. They claimed there was 250,000 German PWs in there. And we were waiting for a trainload of them to bring them back to Cherbourg. So we spent the night there. We slept in tents. And finally they got a trainload of them there, and we ended up in Cherbourg. But during the course of the waiting period there, we were walking around the perimeter of the camp. There was no fence or anything. And we came across an SS corporal dressed in a black uniform. He had the Jaggers on and on his collar. And he talked to me. He talked better English than I did. He says he came to Germany in 1937. And he ended the army, became an SS. And what made it bad about that, he didn't stay there. He just said if these people are in your way, just get them. He said, get out of here. In other words, he spoke German, which I understood. He said, get out of my way, and if they were peasants or anything. So I just turned away and walked with them. Well, we got a train load anyway. We took off that night, and we ended up all the way in the port of Cherbourg, and it wasn't quite unloaded yet to put the PWs on that ship, but we left. It was a Saturday, and we left for Paris. But that's the only night we spent in Paris, my buddy and I. And we went on near the river, rode the metro, which is a subway over there. And we had I would say a 45-minute shower. We just stayed there and let the hot water run out. It made my body sit there. And the next day, we go on a Monday, we went back to our outfit again. And Tuesday, we shoved off. They had moved our tanks already. We was going there. We took it on a train and went up to the Rhine River before we embarked, before we crossed the Rhine. So that was kind of an interesting story there. And it wasn't just me. They come to find out there was a lot of truckloads of soldiers going to take care of the PWs. They didn't know what to do with them. They had to feed them and maintain them and repatriate them, or whatever you call that. And they fed them too, you know.
Yeah.
And,
when they took your tanks, was that the last time you saw your tanks? I know you had mentioned that before.
No, we didn't. They moved the tanks separate on a rail to a place called Amiens, France. Mm-hmm. And then we joined together in Trier, Germany, which is northwestern part of Germany. And that's where we stayed until we could get ready to cross the Rhine. And that itself was something else, going across, riding in a tank, and I'm looking out, you know, and I hope the cable don't let go there. We would have been gone. Because the river was very high then, because it was springtime, you know, the runoff, the snow and everything. And then we drove. I did drive myself. We took turns driving there for a while. You go maybe a half a mile and you stop. Then you go a little bit further and you stop. But when we get on the other side of the Rhine in central Germany, there was a tank still smoking. You know, it had been hit.
No kidding.
That wasn't too good a picture either. But then we stayed out, got as far as outside of Nuremberg, and that's where we stayed until we shoved off to go into Pilsen. You know.
What was the approximate date on that?
Well, we got there. We spent it was I would say fortified area in a forest. Because the roads were maintained perfect. They were hard packed dirt road. I don't know what there was there. Whether it was an underground factory there or nothing. Mm-hmm. They had a ditch on each side of the road. And we stayed there for almost a week, about 4 or 5 days, before we shoved off, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the week of beginning of May, because we entered Pilsen on the 6th. I would say that was about the first part of May that we got outside of Nuremberg. And there were different outfits of our division that were taken to supplement it, like an infantry division, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's where they took 3 of the tanks. The story goes that they had some snipers in the city of Nuremberg, and they took those tanks in there and they just fired the guns at the building. They didn't go house to house fighting, you know. They just demolished the building rather than go take a chance on somebody getting shot, you know. So
yeah,
but that was quite a story. But the kitchen crew didn't catch up with us until the morning of the 6th, on a Sunday morning early. We were loading ammunition up in preparation to go into the city. And lo and behold, here comes a kitchen truck, and it's set up 2 burners, about 3-foot burners. We were running methylene or something like that. Yeah. And they had powdered eggs. Everybody got a scoop of powdered eggs and a cup of hot coffee. And that was like a feast for us, really, you know, after.
Yeah, that
was something else. That was it, that part.
Okay.
But that May 5th, which was a Saturday, we spent the day firing at a house. That's the time that I fired my 5 shots. Mm-hmm. And on our tank, I had bore-sighted it early in the morning. That's to line up the gun to fire. With the periscope, you know, with the graduations on the periscope. Yep. And I had to do that early in the morning. There's a way to do it with crosshairs like this. Yeah. With tape and everything. You put it on, and you line it up, you put your head in a breech block, and you have that crosshair right at the pine tree is what I used. I still remember that as a pine tree. But it wasn't far enough. My first shot was short of the house, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the next one had demolished the barn. And that same day after that was done, I had to clean the gun because that was my duty, you know, to clean the gun barrel and everything like that. We were going to go into a place to bivouac for the night, and these 10 trucks come in with the gasoline trucks. Well, 3 of them got stuck in the mud, and the mud and the manure and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So they said, hey, pull us out. So I got a hold of the cable and put her on the truck, and the tank commander was back. He was driving. He backed up. He pulled that truck out. We got another one up. In the meantime, I'm walking in the damn mud and the crap, you know, and the stuff, and I'm getting pissed off. And we got that second truck, and I was about to hook onto the hook on the front of the next one. A major came in with his driver on a Jeep. He said, what's going on there? I told him, I said, oh, the trucks got stuck in here. Well, who's in charge? There was a first lieutenant in charge over the trucks there. And he says he went over there and he chewed the hell out of that guy. Oh, God. He said, what's the matter? You guys got, every other truck has got a winch on the front. You can pull yourself out. You don't need to have to. But we got out of there. In the meantime, I'm trying to clean my shoes off. And the guy says, I got it back in the tub. Where the hell have you been? He said, walking in manure, you know. I said, yeah. Where the hell? And I crapped out. I was pooped, you know.
Yeah,
that was Saturday night, the night before we took Pilsen. Then I spent the night, the tank in front of us was going over a narrow bridge and he misjudged the siding.
Yeah.
Rolled right over.
Oh.
The driver broke his leg and they took him away. He never come back.
No kidding.
That was the end of him. Well, he didn't die, but I mean,
yeah.
didn't see him. And like I said, that whole night, finally, we drove during the night and I was sleeping. And we ended up in somewhere in Czechoslovakia that Sunday morning early.
Yeah.
And for 6 o'clock, we're loading ammo on the thing, and that's when the kitchen truck came in with the coffee. Then about 1 o'clock, it must have been earlier than that because we took off. Finally got on the highway, and I moved my seat back because I couldn't see nothing. I said before that I could only see what the periscope was shooting it straight ahead because it was coordinated with the gun barrel, you know.
Right.
And the other guys were sitting, they had their necks outside of the hatch cover, you know. So I raised my seat up and I sat on the back of the seat like that.
Yeah.
Right on my ass, and I was up like this. That's why, you know. Then I could see the people and they were lined up on the side of the road throwing flowers at us and saying Nazda, you know. Every now and then you see a guy with a rifle, with a red armband, communist, you know. But I said, they were so, it was 1938. Them poor people, they were, you know, the Germans had got there in 1938, the worst one of the whole thing. Huh. I got a book and it tells you what happened after that, what the Czechs did to the Germans. If you were German, you would forget it. Oh, they
really, huh?
Retaliated against it. But
wow.
That was really something that was exciting. It was exciting and really something to see. I remember seeing that. The people were so happy, you know. But that's where the controversy coming in with my story and what was in that book. They said
what book?
The book that Kenny's got, you know, the guy that wrote about the 16th Armored.
Yeah.
And I said that they made the agreement on Sunday. They didn't. They went right through the city on Sunday afternoon, and there was no configuration of people that come in. That was Monday, because the guy that took my picture that time, he was a staff sergeant. He came in, and he says, where the hell did you get the camera? He says, I brought 2 officers to the ceremony this morning. That was the 7th, on a Monday. And he said they were going to participate in the negotiations of the surrender and everything like that. And it's just a civilian come up to him, hey, you want a camera? You got a carton of cigarettes for a camera, you know, it's gold. And that's why he took that, it was only that big. Remember the little picture? You blew it up for me? Yeah. It was only that big, brown and white it was like, you know?
Yeah.
And they call it black and white. And that's how we got the picture. And that Wednesday, he says, yeah, I'll take my picture. Wednesday, he came back with it, you know?
Yeah.
After he developed it and stuff. I think he had 4 or 5 film, you know, six exposures to a film over them days. I don't know what it was, but I said, otherwise we weren't allowed to have a camera, you know, before that.
Yeah, that's too bad.
That's why the story is conflicting there about when they, according to the book there, they said the negotiations were, and also Kathy's father was an MP at that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I don't want to get involved with that too much. It doesn't mean anything anyway, but.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the story, Dad.